definitely found some strength in that direction. We got Mauga out the gates for VP, and we got the Venture mixed in.
Yes, this is a comp that is like really good against Sim. So I talked a little bit about it yesterday, but obviously we didn't see it. But you stomp right on top of the Sim just like that. The burrow comes through, and you're able to deal with the Sim. I think this is a great look here from VP, making some adjustments. We haven't seen anybody in EMEA, Mitch, really go for this comp against the Sim setups. We've seen everybody just kind of roll over and die against it, not really kind of try anything. So this is a great look here for VP.
This is the kind of comp that we saw, something like, in the past come out of OWCS Korea. And we saw it earlier on this year. Virtus Pro able to make some use of it. Mauga's got a little bit of a slight buff, as has Venture in terms of their fire rate or recovery from each shot. However, Twisted Mind's able to reassert themselves fairly quickly here. It's Pistola who just gets sort of pumped with damage. Quartz obviously on the Sojourn. It's the right pick to sort of deal with this Mauga. Go into those 150 charge railgun shots. Also can break that cage fight fairly quickly. And that'll have KSA drop to the point to have a flip back.
There just wasn't really any help for Vestola there as Quartz, saving that slide away, and then lands a shot on the Shockwave. Vestola, gonna get just ripped there by Quartz. Quartz then kind of uses the railgun shot to finish off Shockwave as the Sojourn player here for Twisted Minds. You're like, okay, yeah, we're going to be able to stop that Sim, right? And Yubi makes the change over to Tracer, but if you're not going to be able to shut down Quartz, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah, so the idea is, of course, go over towards the Orisa, who, in theory, has a favorable matchup in the front line, but we've seen it takes a little bit more than just the Orisa to deal with a good Ramatra player, and I think KSA has absolutely been that. It definitely feels like his best pick at the moment. Pistola wants to try and charge him, but they're a little bit separated. His Shockwave has to almost use a drill run to try and catch up with them. QB going down, Shockwave just descends on Simple, who's not able to get back to that safe sort of quarter, and that space is being taken away from Quartz. All of VP trying to rush up. The idea still the same for them as with the Mauga composition, but Quartz has got a bit of space here to work with.
Yeah, he's going to use this overclock here up on the high ground because they have KSA below, getting closer to an annihilation. Nice spear connection there from Vestola. It's going to be a Kitsune rush here for VP over the point to try and flip it back.
KSA is able to play from that spot here on the low ground. Annihilation is at the ready, and Simple is keeping them topped up. Here's an orbital ray, and a great connection there from Quartz. Gala falls by the wayside, a little too floaty out in the middle of the map, and Twisted Minds retain control. Only a brief flip back for VP, got him 8%. But now it's getting dangerous.
I think Shockwave's actually been sick on the Venture, like coming up with a few pickoffs. We've seen like in a lot of these fights, able to come up and connect with two and really make it tough for the backline. But Quartz is just going uncontested. I know Jaewoo trying to put some pressure on, but Quartz has just seemed like it's just free firing at range.
Pretty strong brawl set up here though with the orbital ray. That one is launched by Gala pretty early on, but Eyes are headed over towards Quartz. Pistola can't afford to cross the map. Now he's caught out in the open a little bit too low. Terror Surge just for that extra durability. And that's all he can really manage. Eventually, Simple's able to bring him down. Shockwave drops to the point here to try to flip it back. Twisted Minds went out their tank. But Pistola had also fallen earlier on. This is now a proper dogfight on the point. An early Sousa there from Simple. Can use a wall climb, and I don't think Shockwave accounted for that. Simple's able to swift step back to the rest of their team, and Yubi's trying to deal now with that Venture. But both tanks are going to be back in the game, and Pistola switched over to the Mauga.
Yes, Yubi just trying to put some pressure here on a Fixer, right? As Gala's over to the Juno here as well. 2 kills in the feed here for Twisted Minds. You do end up getting Quartz, so maybe you're able to make something out of it. But Simple with this Kitsune rush should be able to close it out.
KSA's trying to maintain some ground here. Pistola low, crossed the point, took too much damage. Yubi able to finish him off. No one can contest KSA. Unreal. Virtus Pro without their tank. Not able to play for the point here, and Shockwave is still coming off respawn. Twisted Minds lost 2 kills, I think, at the start of that fight. They were like a 3 versus 4. Able to hold on.
And you just see just the sick Sojourn play there from Quartz in round number 1, where you're having Shockwave play this Venture, and I think you're actually getting some good value out of it. But Quartz is just dominating at range. Look at the damage, right? 4,600. Jaewoo, 2,400 on the other side. You see Shockwave almost kind of keeping pace, right? With him, but it's just the long-range damage and just the constant, every time Vestola comes out of spawn, pretty much, just getting chunked down by the Sojourn at range, and now you're going to see a swap. So the Freya coming in here for VP. I wonder, though, Mitch, if because you're going to see this swap here for VP, Twisted Mind feels like there's an opening to maybe go back to the Sim.
Definitely something that can punish this D.Va, Matt. Twisted Minds obviously happy to play the Sojourn. VP bowing out of the longer range matchup on Mecha Base. Now, of course, Shockwave can definitely have some impact. It's a way more mobile composition brought from Virtus Pro, again with that Juno Kiri side fight mirror, and Festola, who just gets pumped early. There's just no opportunity for Shockwave to get involved. He's got pretty safe passive positioning there and can't really chime in with the front line.
I mean, you get D-Mech right off the rip, though, right? I mean, where is the supports being able to kind of help Vestola as Jwoo loses a fight on the other side of the map there? It's funny, Astro and KSA take out both damage dealers. This is looking a lot like last week, Mitch, where this was not a real competitive game.
I mean, this round has not started well. In fact, if this is, you know, what Twisted Minds end up rolling out with over much of this series, Virtus Pro have to maybe even think they look towards IceNom and the different pool, maybe that more hazard-based gameplay to try and find an edge, because that's where they were able to get there on occasion in some previous matchups. Fixer those done well, deals with Quartz and allows Jwoo to drop down to the point and start the contest, but he has to respect. Simple also holding his own in a virtual 1 versus 2 for much of this time. Obviously, you know, one of the very few players, if ever, to reach Champion 1. Something we sort of highlighted yesterday. Pretty insane grind set on that player. And it's definitely been a standout, maybe even an MVP for the entire stage. There's a stick there. It's going to be golden dot, and he has to recall out.
Yeah, it's a nice Suzu there from Fixa on a Vestola. That's going to be able to keep him alive. Even after they get Quartz early, it's still just a lot of contest there that comes in for Twisted Minds. They probably get another like 15-20% on the point. So now we'll see VP in control of this. No change. I thought maybe, okay, use that Pulse Bomb. You're going to change for UB over to the Sim. But reminder, yes, I mean, how sick was UB on Coliseo, right? Losing effort, but I mean, just a tremendous Tracer play yesterday. So maybe you feel pretty good about this.
A lot of that was because Simple was able to link up with UB on so many occasions and kind of overwhelmed Checkmate, who didn't have a Kiri to play alongside of him. Regardless, it was pretty impactful. Look at this, Twisted Minds very quickly back into position here. Fixer obviously falls pretty early on in the fight now, and Quartz can virtually stagger out that Juno if he dares to try and fight it, but has to respect. Don't necessarily want to give Gala too much of an opening. He's developed his orbital ray already.
Yeah, there's no reason to chase that at that moment in time if you're Quartz, right? You're better off just kind of playing your life, holding on to it. I think VP is going to be in a tough spot to flip this one back, Mitch, right? You're going to have orbital rays on both sides, but the annihilation here for Twisted Minds, and then Quartz with that overclock, even with the orbital ray, you're able to just kind of like tap people on through it. And they're not even going to get the orbital ray off. I mean, Quartz just domes Gala coming out of the spawn. So now you're not even going to be in position to use your orbital ray. Vestola's already lost his armor. This is brutal here for VP.
We've got to call it out. Both Kiriko's doing a heck of a lot of work. Simple's got about the same amount of damage as Yubi does in this round. And that's what we're sort of seeing from a lot of Kiriko players at this level, turning into legitimate damage.
I love this.
Here's an orbital ray. KSA wanders pretty much into the thick of things and is able to be handled, but Twisted Minds get themselves to 99. Won't see the need, I think, to spend any of these extra ultimates that they've developed. It's going to be an overclock and an orbital ray maintained for this next fight. Twisted Minds looking to take the map.
I actually like the decision there by KSA. I just don't think the rest of the team was in position to be able to follow it up, right? He kind of sees like the supports in the alleyway kind of approaching, figures like, okay, if I use my Annihilation, if you have Funny Ash's Orbital Ray a little bit closer to use there, like I think that is a great scenario for TM. It just seems like they weren't all on the same page at that moment.
Regardless, they'll be able to save that ultimate for about now. It looks like Vestola might have caught a little bit too close to the fray. He's able to back away, but the healing's going to take a little bit of time. And in the meantime, Twisted Minds have been able to use that orbital ray to at least get into the map. Jwoo, though, controls the Mega. Quartz is looking for a target with his overclock, and much of it is expired, completely trolled by Fixer, who's able to get back to safety. A warning shot on Gala in midair, but Twisted Minds weren't able to find their objective early on in this fight, and now they go down one of their main healers. Quartz out of the picture. Vestola's able to dive on towards that Sojourn position, and Jwoo's Pulse Bomb accounts for Simple. Here's VP now, threatening to even up the map. Couple of 1 fights consecutively here, and Twisted Minds have just let themselves slip.
Yeah, I think they're going to be able to get a touch, though. So UB actually ends up living here on through this. So UB will get a touch. Going to use recall to get on back. See who comes in to touch next. It'll be Kitsune rushes from both sides.
UB gets a touch there. Keeps the game going now. KSA back on the D.Va, looking to maybe pressure in this Kiriko direction, but there's a Malga on the field, and Simple clearly wasn't ready for the hail of bullets. KSA also has to opt out of a direct fight against Vestola, and he's beckoning, saying, come and fight me here on this point. KSA can't. Eventually, he just gets dragged down. Far too much damage to deal with. And Virtus Pro able to exploit an overextension a couple of fights ago from KSA.
Yeah.
With that, annihilation, and able to punish them with a round win.
Yeah, like I talked about, I kind of like the decision by KSA. I think you just needed everybody to be on the same page and kind of push through that alleyway, right? You had an opportunity to get like a pick or two when you're already at 99. So that'll send us to a third round here on Busan. Is a very important map here for both sides, right? Getting off of that first map, forcing the other team to kind of burn some of their selections. You do see in that second round, though, Mitch, when Shockwave goes over to the Freya, he's caught up and passed Quartz in terms of the damage.
Yeah, which has obviously been crucial. Eventually, that Freya's been able to take hold. It definitely felt like it was a slower start, but there was some awkward positioning at the beginning of the round for Pistola, where there's that really early D-Mech, and Virtus.pro can't hit with any tempo. Now, clean slate. Decide around here on this control map. Remember, VP unable to take a map at all last time against Twisted Minds. Need to see if they've been able to develop over the course of this lower bracket run into a team that could vie for that first seed in EMEA. It's already Quartz looking to push up on the fringes of the map. They're going to play around this KSA Ramatra. Definitely their best look thus far.
I think without a doubt, right? Nothing too, cute like the Reinhardt or anything here. So they do find Quartz, though. That's a nice collapse from JW and Vestola. But are you able to keep Vestola in mech? Getting dangerously low. Looks like he's going to get out for some healing.
Vestola, I feel like he definitely needs both of his supports in play to be able to linger in the front line for any space of time. Simple's just doing his thing on the flanks here. Just an unreal talent this guy has turned out to be. Great deployment of the Suzu there, just make it impossible for Jaywood to get anything done, and he goes to one. Funny Astro picks him up.
The way he just chases, I mean, that's Jaywu he's trying to hunt down, right? I mean, one of the better tracers, better DPS players in EMEA. So being able to see Simple just kind of like hunt him down, I mean, that is impressive, and just shows that he has like zero fear when it comes to taking these duels.
And it's important because they can play separately from the Ramatra on the point. Like Simple and Funny Astro, or Simple and Yubi can play here and control this sort of right side of the map. VP have to basically use all 5 players to dive on 1 or 2 of those positions and try and overwhelm them in numbers. KSA is going to be really hard to shift here, and okay, bowler shot point blank, doesn't matter. Quartz, a big rail hit onto Shockwave, shuts him down at the cost of that bowler shot. The VP lose a pretty key ultimate for shutting someone like a Ramatra down and lose that player. Still thinks they're a little bit better. They've dealt with the side fight component of Twisted Minds setup, but they still need to work on KSA. A tough nut to crack at the best of times. But the only Funny Astro on the field, eventually the Ramatra has to capitulate.
Yes, finally a flip here from VP. It feels like it's hard to just keep Vestola alive, though, in mech. Like, amongst, like, this, mass amounts of damage that's coming down from the support line. I know Yubi and Quartz as well, right? As Vestola is going to get a mech back here. So, we'll have it for this next fight, which is very important.
Kitsune rush here for both sides, though. Those cooldowns to be recycled definitely feel like it favors the Ramatra and the frontline scenario, especially with that increased throughput for Simple. Here it comes, Orbital Ray, going to be committed to the fight as well. The Quartz did get taken down, isolated early. Twisted Minds being punished here for having their players spread a bit more thinly than VP tend to do. Going Fixer and Gala out of the picture. There's no way Vestola is going to be able to hold up under this kind of scrutiny. And that'll get Twisted Minds back within striking distance of a map win.
And look, Vestola is able to get a pick right off the rip, right? I mean, he finds Quartz, and he actually goes back, and I think he finds Funny Astro as well. The issue is that they're not able to keep the rest of the team alive when that, really aggressive Ramatra push comes in, right? With the Kiri in the Tracer, you're going to give up Quartz in this type of situation to the Diva, but you're going to win out on that front line against everything else.
And Fixer has only been able to get half of Simple's healing for about the same amount of damage.
Look at this. So, he's just hunting down Shockwave in the spawn here, of course.
This is what Kiri comps do, right? You have these ends that can take on these isolated individuals, and if your enemy is playing Freya or Sojourn, easy to sort of jump in their direction. Like I was saying, the Kiriko impact, I mean, there's a gap there. Simple has been able to put out a ridiculous amount of healing while having massive damage impact in these fights. Vestola has died 12 times at this point, most in the lobby. It's been so hard for VP to keep this Diva fighting fit. There's another example of it. And a beautiful pulse for Yubi to make sure even after the self-destruct, there's no D-Mech opportunity. That's curtains for VP on Busan. No coming back from a sequence like that. Twisted Minds.